Hey, Dawn. All right. I was reading through your writing. Really good job here. I mean, you've described your intent beautifully here, so that's fantastic. Um, so at this point, let's just go ahead and jump right over to the composition. I think it's a good ad. I love that masked image. I think it adds, like as you kind of alluded to in your writing, it adds a little bit of levity. Kind of like the spokes creature, as you said. I think that's what you call it, the spokes creature. I love that, Dawn. That's funny. The spokes creature. And I kind of get that. I kind of get a little mascot, right? But the problem is the mascot is too big. And let me describe the ramifications of leaving it this size. So in a magazine ad, we have very little time before the viewer decides if they're going to stay and take in the whole ad or if they're going to move on. Typically, we have about 2 seconds. Um, so in those 2 seconds, we want to assist the viewer in staying in the ad. The problem with an image this big is that number one, it's compromising the hierarchy based on the page structure, and also it's risking the fact that if the viewer is only going to stay in the composition for 2 seconds or so, or before they decide to leave, we don't want them spending the 2 seconds right here. Okay, we want them spending the 2 seconds right here. Then they'll decide to stay. Then they can start examining things closer. Do you see what I'm saying? So I would reduce the size of this. A couple of other things too. So let's talk about typography. So if in the style guide, we see that the required typefaces are Arial bold for the headline and Arial bold italic for the subhead. So I'm not seeing Arial bold. Technically, this tropical fun is a headline, and this a little bit of paradise is a subhead. So my recommendation here is to reduce the size of the subhead a little bit because typically following order of hierarchy, the headline would be the largest. Then the subhead would be a little bit smaller, and then of course we need to place that subhead in Arial bold italic. At that point, I would say I'd like to redistribute a little bit of weight. We got some visual weight here. We got some visual weight here. So I'm trying to think of how we can do this because right now we've got a couple of issues. The main issue is the fact that the body copy is really wide. Remember, optimal character count for typography is in between 50 and 70 or so characters. But we're pushing well over 100 here. And that's characters. That's the letters, punctuation, and spaces. So this would point to 2 columns of type. But I think we're a little text heavy in this ad. I really do. I think we're a little bit text heavy. My recommendation would be to do this is let's move this over left align, the subhead, headline subhead. Then watch my cursor. You're probably likely going to have to reduce the amount of text here. I think the ad itself is very, very text heavy. And in modern magazine advertising, we don't see a whole lot of text heavy ads. That started in the early 2000s or so. Time was in the 90s, we had really, really text heavy ads and in subsequent years. But recently, in the last 15 years or so, we're definitely looking at a reduction. And the research indicates that magazine ads with a lot of text are viewers tend to move on. Viewers just don't seem to have the patience that they used to in days gone that to spend the time reading extended text sections. So I recommend combining these two paragraphs and reducing the size. So we'll have headline subhead right here. Okay, then right here, paragraph body copy. All right. Then what we'll do is we'll reduce the size of the pineapple to about this. And then what we'll do is we'll take that logo, reduce it a little bit, place it right here. Okay, that leaves what? That leaves the contact information. And I don't like to stack the contact information on the logo because the logo is something that should have assured clear distance, meaning the logo typically is required to have a nice padded area around it where we don't place text or other images. And the reason being is to reinforce branding. So that said, I would say reduce the size of the logo to about this, place it in the lower right-hand corner, then take that type and reconfigure it, place it at the top of the composition. Let me show you an example of that. These are the course announcements in the examples that I posted way back in week 1. And this one shows the type that's spanned across the top of the ad. It works beautifully, right? And it opens up the bottom of that ad so that we don't have to stack type over the textured pineapple, or we don't have to stack type below the logo. Okay, so other than that, I think everything is working out beautifully. So in summary, oh, by the way, let's talk about color too. I would recommend this, that you could use a combination of white and purple for maybe white, or maybe purple for the headline subhead, and then white for the body copy. So this purple right here for the headline subhead, and then white for the body copy. See how that works? You might try that purple for the body copy as well. It's up to you. But black advances too much in the composition. So we want to create a little more synergy, typographic image synergy by reducing the visual weight of the type and bringing it more on a level depth of field with the image itself, so it doesn't look like it's advancing in the composition, if that makes sense. If not, let me know and I'll describe that to a higher degree. But other than that, so again, as I said, in summary, so what we do is we take the headline subhead, make sure the subhead is set in italic, Arial bold italic, left align those, bring this over here and set them to your left margin. Then we'll take this whole typographic area, condense it and combine it, and right about there or so. Okay. Then we're going to reduce the size of the pineapple. We'll reduce the size of the logo, place it in the lower right-hand corner, take the contact information and span the top of the ad with it. Try it. I think it's really going to add to, a lot to page harmony. And I think you'll like it. Also, Noelia had a really good suggestion in there's masked image right now. If you pull that down just a little bit, you could do one of two things. I mean, you could reduce it and try to make it look like it's sitting on the deck. That might be really interesting. Or just reduce it, but it looks like it's floating in midair, right? But so if you, if in this situation, you move it down a little bit so it bleeds off the page, we won't have that floating effect. Just notice something else. We have indications of the original background right there. So you want to mask that out for sure, definitely, because that's something that's fair game in terms of grading, right? So masking should remove all evidence of the background. We should be able to see that little kind of dock right there through that hole where that arm of the glasses meets the pineapple right there. Okay. All right. So excellent start. If you have any questions at all, or if I can clarify anything I've said in the last 7.5 minutes, please let me know. I'll be glad to do so. But I'd like to see you work in that direction. Okay. All right. Again, really super important. Any questions at all, let me know. All right. Okay. That's about all I have. So Dawn, thank you very much.